what I'm hinting at is I really want to talk about these painted rugs because
the painted rugs.
They are the coolest thing ever.
Yeah,
tell me where that came from.
I started doing this years ago because of kitchen areas.
Mm-hmm.
People are always worried about, what if I get the rug dirty in my kitchen? So I started painting rugs on the floor in there. And it's wonderful because you can spill anything you want and mop it up, but you still have that grounding that you want of an area rug. But then I did this fabulous project in Block Island where the owners wanted a more elegant home but maintenance-free because they had grandchildren and they had dogs. And we painted antique oriental rugs right on the floor. And what I mean by that is we would literally take an image and silk screen it onto the floor, and then it would be hand painted on. So it was neat because nobody had to worry about the floors, but it was still an elegant house. And then I had a situation recently where a client of mine needed an area rug in their kitchen area, but it had to be painted on the floor because they have a family member that's wheelchair bound. And so this way we could do a rug that picked up on all the fabrics in the room to the exact size we needed, but nothing would get caught on it like the wheels,
right,
or walker or something of that nature.
Wow.
So it gives you a lot of freedom.
My sister's in a wheelchair. She's been in a wheelchair since I can remember, since I was born. And we always had trouble with either going into, she rolling into the restroom and getting caught on a bath mat, or rolling around in the living room, getting caught within that. And that is such a great solution.
Yeah. Paint anything you can imagine. If you can imagine it, it can be painted.
On the floor. And so they're silk screening, and then they're actually going in and detail painting with a floor paint. Yeah. And then finishing it with a polyurethane. And there's all sorts of different polyurethane or floor finishes out there, even natural floor finishes. So Home Depot has a wide array of all sorts of things that if we want to do it ourselves and dive into the do-it-yourself world, we can go and ask somebody at Home Depot and
And I have a wonderful artist I've used for years up and down the East Coast. His name is Jonathan Corman, lives in Whately, Massachusetts. He can answer any questions if someone wants to call information, but he would be very specific about what finish he would put on top so that it wouldn't yellow. Because he didn't want whatever the artwork was, because some varnishes will yellow.
Yeah, and jeopardize the color of the actual color we want our rugs to be. And for more information on just that process in general, and to see pictures, cleareinteriors.com, Cleare interiors.com. Tons of great information on there. That is Catherine's website. Again, we're talking to Catherine Cleare. She is an amazing interior designer, and we're talking all things flooring. So if you have a specific question about floors, maybe you're wanting to transition into a darker wood, you want to introduce tile into your kitchen again, you really miss that kitchen tile, and you're wondering what those new hot trends are. Is it a really big tile pattern? Is it very small? We talked about mosaic earlier. Give us a call. We'll talk about it. 1-866-675-6675. The hand-painted rugs, amazing. Other sort of stencil floor work that you've seen or you've done. What are
there is a stencil that I've done on a couple of projects where I call it poor man's inlay because it looks just like inlaid wood, but it's stenciled on. So what you do is you start with white oak, just your basic builder white oak, and same thing, the artist will draw on the floor with the pencil and template the pattern, anything you could imagine, and then they stain darker and darker and darker to create the different color variations from reds to browns to whatever it may be, but it really does look like inlaid wood floor. So what's fun is bringing friends like to my house. I actually have it on my house too. They have to run their fingers across that floor to be convinced that it's not real inlay. To just catch the 3-inch planks. But it's really a fun way to create the design.
And that's great for those floors, either if we have small children or if we're scared of getting dirt in between those planks. It's just a really great flat surface besides just the normal build of the flooring.
Well, that and budget-wise is phenomenal because what it would have, like if you were to go to my website and just look at my home, it would have been a fortune to have that floor in my foyer done by him, where each pattern had to be cut out and inlaid in the different species of wood for the color variation, whereas when you do it by stencil, it's not all that much, and it's a quick lead time. Because if I'm guessing, but I think my foyer took a total of 1 week. It would take much longer than that to have it handmade if it were the real thing. So from a lead time and from a budget point of view, it's a dynamite way to get a really good-looking floor.
And you get the exact color wood you want, too.
Exactly.
You don't get caught in that budget trap of, oh, well, I can only afford these 4 colors of wood, or...
It's true, because what I did in my house, I have different colors per room. So even in my living room, dining room, I did borders that looked like wood inlay, but I slightly changed the stain color to work with that room.
Oh,
whatever
wow.
color that so it still all reads like brown wood, but it's like my dining room is more of a taupe color, so the stains were still brown, but more to that family.
So within a darker, maybe we're in a mahogany type room with mahogany floors, something along those lines of wood, something along that line. What are your thoughts on the faux wood beams on ceilings that sort of run along the same direction as the floor?
I just did a wine cellar billiard room, media room that had the faux beams. Mm-hmm. They came out spectacular. And so I was a little worried. The reason why I couldn't use the real beams was because of the weight issue. Yeah. Because it was a basement this is not your average basement, but so we did the faux. It came out spectacular. And I have to tell you, I don't think anyone would ever know that they weren't the real thing. So I'm a believer now.
What were they made out of?
Well, it's still wood. What
right.
they do is they miter the corners. You have, the bottom of the beam and the 2 sides that attach to the sheetrock. But they are mitered so tightly when they meet, when the sides come down and meet the bottom, you can't tell that it's not a real beam. It's incredible. But it's still real wood.
Yeah. And were they finished like you were talking about earlier with the same way the floors were?
Well, these were finished in almost like a rough hewn finish, almost like barn board. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty, it's kind of a casual look.
Yeah. That sounds really, really nice.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And I love that we are able to dive into all of these different options now. Before, it felt like if it wasn't what we said it was, then it obviously was going to look like something else. Now we have the products out there and the knowledge base to actually go the direction we want design-wise, but maybe it's not the actual build of what it really is.
Oh, yeah. And even, like, I just left Architectural Systems to come here. Mm-hmm. They have a mother of pearl tile that is just unbelievable, but it's not a big deal anymore. It's because of technology.
Right.
They have it's capiche shell. Mm-hmm. That's like a wallpaper. And again, it's because of technology that it's not that big a deal, but it's spectacular.
Wow.
So technology has made all of these things much less expensive.
Yeah. And there are tons of different things out there we can also dive into that keep us in that green world as well. There's a lot of green interior design options out there. What are you seeing with trends, maybe wall coverings or floor coverings that are very green focused? Recycled woods, recycled things like that? I
love the recycled wood.
Yeah.
I just think it brings so much character and warmth into a space that it's really hard to emulate any other way. Mm-hmm. But that just triggered a thought. You know what I did in my kitchen? I had seen this photograph on like Vogue magazine gazillion years ago. I think it was Yves Saint Laurent's house in like Paris or something. But the floors were dreamy and probably 1,000 years old. So the artist that I use, he actually rented a propane tank, like a full height, 5 foot high tank, blowtorched the floors and then kept putting glazes on them to make it look old. It really looks old, and that was just a white oak floor.
Wow. So man-made old floors.
But it really did look old. It was fun.
Yeah. And that's the beauty behind these do-it-yourself projects or hiring